Yeah, Hunkie Cooper is nice enough to join us, the Hall of Famer, all right? Put some respect on his name. Hall of Famer Hunkie Cooper joins us. We're going to talk a little bit about the game. Obviously, week 0 opener at home. Got the W, but the blood pressure was a little bit elevated. So we'll discuss a little bit about that game and kind of your role going with UNLV over the past couple of seasons and what you've seen developmentally, both on the field, from the guys. But we'll start with last Saturday, week 0, opening up with a new coaching staff with new players, roster 57 new guys introduced, a lot of guys making their first start at Allegiant Stadium. Things didn't maybe go quite according to plan, but your function as the emotional leader, I'll give you that title, the emotional leader amongst the players with your relationship, what was the temperature that you felt on that Saturday game day?
Well, for me, been around the game so long, and thank you guys for having me, I kind of expected to see some struggles early because of, when you have 57 new players on a team and they have to gel. You come from different backgrounds. You come from the Power 4, Power 5 ranks, and then you kind of really look down on the conference. You think that you can't forget that, now in this day and age with the NIL and everything, every conference is Power 4, Power 5 because there's players that have experience in all those different realms. But I just knew that we needed to be humbled a little bit, and it's hard to win. It's hard to win anyway. And when you put pressure on yourself by the way you carry yourself and do things, humbleness is good for us. So we came in and, you play Idaho State and their, FCS team, and you can easily overlook them, but they came in and had a great game plan. They came in, they were really prolific with the football. They threw the ball well. We didn't really get home with our pass rush, and in the secondary we made some mistakes. But the game for me, I didn't think we were ever not going to win the game. Going in down at halftime, and there was no reason to panic because all the mistakes we made. You got the first series we go down and we fumble the football in the end zone. Okay, that's a 7-point, that's a 14-point swing. 7 we didn't get it. It's a 10-point swing because they go down and they kick a field goal. Okay, now you look up and we're down 10-0. And if you go back and look at last year, our special teams was huge for us, and we missed 2 field goals. Okay, we get off the field, we get a stop on 3rd down, and we get a penalty. Okay, that's a discipline issue, and that's a good kid that made a bad decision, and then the next possession they score a touchdown. And then the last thing was you stop them on 3rd down, and they had them stopped, and they get it, and they go down and they score again. So a lot of self-inflicted wounds ourselves, and I think you learn from where I've always believed that the greatest growth comes between game 1 and game 2. So I'm glad we did get this game moved up to game 0 week, and now we can go back and fix some flaws and humble the players a little bit and go back to work and get ready for I think, a good Sam Houston State team that was 10-3 last year.
And you touched on it a little bit, the Idaho State Bengals. Give them credit. I think they may end up being one of the best FCS pass attacks in all of football. Jordan Cook, 380 yards. Ian Duarte, 105 receiving. Shulikov had a couple of catches, like you mentioned, 3rd down conversions where he just went up and made a play. So, again, great players everywhere. But I think the biggest stat that the Rebels probably will be wanting to clean up is Dason Brooks, 132 yards on the ground on 18 rushing attempts. Tip your cap. These guys can play. They strap on their cleats just like the rest of us.
It's one of my former teammates' son. That's what's crazy, man. And it's
small world.
It's small world. But, Cody Hawkins, those are good football coaches. And they have they look at them, the way they came into the stadium, they were humble, they worked, they had a plan. And, to see him rush for 128, they again, the scheme. To throw the football down the field, we would, even with our big defensive line, the pass rush wasn't effective because he couldn't get home, and he got his release and his trigger was so quick, and then they were throwing timing routes. So they made a lot of catches down the field, and then you throw in a little mojo with it, a little double pass, and they get a quarter. We did it to start the game, and they come back and hit us with our own medicine. So, but I think we're fine. We'll go back and we'll work the kinks out, and now that we're humbled, I go back to look at guys that played hard and played well. Like Reed Williams, like Jet Thomas, and you see like Marcel McDuffie, guys that have been in the system, and they hold true. So those guys want to be here. They didn't transfer, and they had a lot of success. So I look forward to a big game against Sam Houston State, and again, like you said, give Idaho State all the credit in the world because they came out with a great game plan, and they didn't hurt themselves, and it was a good week for them, and I think they'll be one of the top teams in FCS as well.
One of the questions of the offseason got answered, kind of. Everybody always wants to know, it seems like with UNLV, who's going to be the starting quarterback. Dan Mullen had a trick up his sleeve because Both started. Both were on the field for the first snap. Gamesmanship by the coach to kind of keep the world guessing as to who won the quarterback competition.
That was pretty clever, actually, And if, I think Anthony, if he'd have looked back over there, Alex had a touchdown.
It was a touchdown.
It was a touchdown. Yeah. But, I think in this two quarterback system, a lot of teams are doing it. I think you have to use what you have in your arsenal. And both of these guys are really, really good quarterbacks. I think Alex was 3 for 3 before he fumbled in the end zone, then came back and scored the running touchdown to win, to set us up to win the game. Anthony extended plays with his feet, and and that's what we brought both in there for. They're both running quarterbacks. Alex he has two brothers in the NFL. He's 6'3", 245. Man, he's a big physical guy, and with a strong arm. And Anthony is a guy that's elusive. Looks a little bit like you out there running, and he extended plays and got us out of some long situations because he's able to extend drives and make plays down the field with his feet, but also while looking to throw the football.
Talking about a guy that made plays running the football, Jaden Thomas with a breakout performance to start the season off.
Jed Thomas, man, is since the day that kid got here, all he's done is work, man. He's one of my favorite players. He's a guy that reminds me of a guy named Donnell Pumphrey, a guy that I coached that's here from Las Vegas, is an all-time leading rusher in the history of college football at 5'8", 175. Jed is the first guy's never going to tackle him. He has great balance. He has great vision. And Coach Quinton Gathers has made him a better back and pressing the line of scrimmage and seeing things differently. And Jed is, and hats off to Jed because he just lost his father at 45 years of age about a month ago, and was able to go down to help him say his final farewells to his father. And his father was a big-time running back in New Jersey. And, I didn't know all of that prior to Jed getting here, but they had his records, and he played in front of some NFL players, and they were his teammates. And so Jed played with a lot of emotion. He played with a lot of passion. But the thing about Jed is Jed's going to play with emotion, but Jed's never going to get emotional. And to watch how smooth he is and watch how he pressed the line of scrimmage and stick his single leg cuts and get vertical. And he's a great back, has a lot of good vision, and he's a great teammate to be around. He's going to be successful by the way he works every day.
It's the voice of Hunkie Cooper. He's sitting in for Dan Mullen tonight. Dan Mullen radio show here at Parkway Tavern, 215 and Flamingo. Let's try to play one of the highlights here, the 29-yard TD run by Jet.
From the pistol, Calandria hands it off to Thomas up the middle. He's got some space at the 30. He's all alone at the 15, the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Scarlet and Gray. Jet Thomas from 29 yards out gets the scoring started for UNLV in 2025.
Hunkie, what'd you see on that run? And nice hole up the middle, so good interior blocking.
Yeah, so that starts with Reed Williams. Reed is a small guy. Reed's about 6'1", 280, but he is one of the most cerebral guys I've been around. He can point the mic. He can do everything he needs to do. He's good in pass protection. He plays with great leverage, and he's brilliant. And to see a guy like Jet run behind those guys in inside and outside zone, Jet really knows how to stretch it. He knows his landmarks, and he protects the football. And once he sticks his foot in the ground and get vertical, he's on the third level. You're not going to catch Jet Thomas. Jet's he's a special back.
So I tell you, on the 70-yard run, he was coming towards the UNLV sidelines, and I remember him. He was kind of tiptoeing, making some space, and then, man, when he had a chance to go, he turned on the freaking burners. Listen to this one.
2 rushes for 15 yards so far tonight for Orji. He's back out there with Thomas, the running back, off his left hip. From the shotgun, he'll take the snap. He hands it off up the middle. Thomas cuts it to the right side. Gets around 2 defenders. Jukes a man out of the 35. He's at the 40. He's at the 50. No one to beat. He's at the 30, the 20, the 10, 5. Touchdown, Jet Thomas. A 70-yard rush, and the Rebels lead 14-10 pending the extra point.
That was a career-long for Jet, not just a touchdown, career-long rush attempt for him. You mentioned something earlier that it's really become a popular phrase as Ashton Genty sort of skyrocketed to the top of the running back room last season. But contact balance is what I thought he displayed on that particular run, making contact in the hole, keeping his balance, not only keeping his balance, but well enough so he can accelerate and fly past the last defenders. His contact balance is elite, in my opinion.
As a quarterback, when you're running zone read and stretch, once you hit that landmark and you get vertical, get your shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage, you can really do some good things. Jed is he sees it. He sees the hole, and he's really good. I remember that because we got a holding penalty with Alani and then it was 2nd and 20 and 1st and 20. We don't have a player in our playbook for 1st and 20. So you hand it to Jed Thomas, and he goes 70 on the touchdown, and again, like you said, man, Jed is his vision, his contact balance is amazing. He kind of, he's smooth. He hides inside, and once he sticks his foot in the ground and get vertical, he's going to usually go the distance.
Hunkie, you're going to stick around for a couple more minutes, please, right? We want to get a lot more out of you, and I definitely want to talk about one of your specialties, and that is the wide receiver. I think you got some great receivers on Dale Alexander's core here. Again, we're at Parkway Tavern. You can hit any of the Parkway Taverns for happy hour up until 6 o'clock, 3 to 6, $2 off the beer, the wine, the cocktails, 50% off appetizers. Now here at the 215 and Flamingo location. Dan Mullen Radio Show rolling on. Parkway Tavern, 215 and Flamingo. Let's all give a hand to Hunkie Cooper, sitting in. UNLV legend, the mayor, is here with us. Eric Harper, the athletic director, is going to join us in a little bit. We'll have quick convos with Reed Williams and Marcel McDuffie. I was asking both of you guys because you both played at UNLV. Night practices this week, and this could be the norm at different times during the season. So I'll ask you first, Hunkie. Did you ever practice at night? And what do you think of night practices? Obviously a little bit cooler.
Well, back in my day, we practiced 3 times a day, so there was no rules, no regulations. Now you can only have 20-hour week. But what you try to do is get their body clocks on to match the time that you're going to play. If you're going to play a 1 o'clock game, you want to practice in the morning, get them moving. And if you want to play at 8:30 Central Standard Time, you want to. That's why we practice in the evening under the lights. So I think you get their bodies on the clock.
We actually had a full season where we tried to do I almost said night shift, like the labor force. But we actually had night practice for an entire season. And the issue that we actually ran into that year was with the scheduling with school starting. It's a little bit harder to schedule your players once they get to their degree and their development, scheduling them for things that are appropriate. Fortunately, though, the online school and the web-based campus for UNLV kind of developed over the years, so I think that might not be as big a problem. But with school starting here, I think night shift schedules probably does favor you sometimes.
Hunkie, what were the online classes like for you back in the day?
Yeah, no such thing. They would call.
Same for me.
We had encyclopedias. We didn't have Wikipedia. We didn't have any of that, But we at 3 o'clock we practice. We have a special team practice at 7 a.m. And we come back and have an offensive practice. Then we have a defensive practice. So with Jim Strong, we had 3 practices.
So I want to talk about wide receivers because that's obviously a position you've coached in the past. And to me, Jaden Bradley is one of the great stories on this team. And he's a good story about sticking with it even through a coaching change, because sometimes a coaching change can mean bad things for you. But in Jaden's case, I think he's grown up, and this staff got a fresh look at him. Dell's a carryover, obviously. He has really grown, and he has a chance here to be a freaking top-notch receiver in the Mountain West Conference.
This kid, if he get his mindset to ever match his skill set, you know what I mean? He's 6'4". He's 195 pounds. I think on the next level he had to put on 15 more pounds. He can run a 4.4. He has all the tools and intangibles to be a top player in this conference. Jaden just has to get his mindset to match his skill set. You got to go out and play. You just can't go out and make it about you. You got to play the game completely. So on rundowns, you got to be a receiver, just like you are on pass downs, and he's on special teams. He's working hard. And only person that can really stop Jaden Bradley is Jaden Bradley. The kid has, like I said, if he get his mindset to match his skill set and go out and prepare the way we know he's capable of preparing, he could be a big-time guy in this league.
What are the ways that you, in your role, not necessarily with the X's and O's, but developing the young man and those kinds of things with Jaden Bradley in particular, but with all of the athletes that you're blessed enough to be in contact with and make an impact with, what are some of the ways you focus in on that personal side of their development? Well,
first and foremost, the financial portion of it, so we bring in people, financial advisors, to talk about budgeting, talk about tax account, talk about investment accounts, because only 1% of people that play college football don't get a chance to play in the NFL, but everybody unfortunately think they're in that 1%. And so a lot of these guys that don't understand financial literacy, so we put people in front of them. Next thing is about life after football. If you want to, most of them are coming now to give themselves another opportunity. That's what the transfer portal is, to give yourself another opportunity. And I want them to come to be great young men in this community in Las Vegas. Come here. We did over 20,000 pounds of food at 3 Square Food Bank this summer. We packed a lot of boxes, man. We've done a lot of community service, and that's what I've always been in this community about giving. And I want them to understand that when football is over, this is a great community to live in, and I have to develop them for that. So, again, you talk about resume building, you talk about job shadowing, you talk about a lot of guys that come in already have their master's degree. So I've linked them up with Charles Schwab and Edward Jones and some of the guys that are in the financial profession. So whatever profession that they're in and wherever they see themselves at, and that being what to go to after football, I try to find people in that area and get them connected.
You have talked about this community multiple times here today. I know you're passionate about the Las Vegas community, some of the things you do outside of football. But one of the things that I think was very important to you, and your emotions kind of came through with it, was being inducted into the Hall of Fame here with Las Vegas at UNLV. Last year, 2024, one of the initiatives that Eric Harper brought back in 2022, actually, bringing back the Hall of Fame inductions. And you were a part of the 2024 class. What did that mean to you in particular in this community to be able to have that sort of lasting impact at the university?
It was something that, when you go to the Hall of Fame, it's not really about you. It's about a wife that gave up and supported you. It's about the kids that took their time, and it's about having great teammates. It's about people that invested in you. I never came to Vegas to go to the Hall of Fame. Same thing. I came here to get a degree and to help my mother. That I'm the 8th of 10 kids. I'm from the inner city. My father passed away at 14, and I became a father at 18. So I was trying to make a way for my kids, and the game is what took care of me. So I wanted to make sure I took care of the game. So, but it was really, when Harper, and I got to go in with Steve Stallworth, and I got to go in with Talance Sawyer and Paul Pucciarelli. People don't know that Pooch was on the road recruiting when I came here because they were between staffs, and he went to my mom's job, and he told her, one thing I'll do is I'll make sure he graduates. And these people, from Elaine Wynn to Mr. Michael Gunn to everybody in this, the Stratton family, everybody's been good to me in the city, and to be inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame, sometimes it really had nothing to do with ability, just about accountability. And I was completely honored. This is the 5th Hall of Fame that I've been inducted to, and I try to do things the same way. And I want to show these young men that when the game is over, the relationship that you build will carry you so much further than the football field and the money that you make.
And those relationships for you in your role with community engagement has also come in handy quite a bit. How has the realm of community engagement and community support changed in recent years, especially with the new NIL structures and people's participation and with the success of UNLV?
So we have a lot of local kids. We had our best recruiting class locally. When I was a high school coach here, I saw those boxes that we packed with food at 3 Square Food Bank on my campuses. That was vitally important to me. I came and I put my kids in public school over there, but they had to make private school grades. And so for me, the greatest thing you could ever do is give. And when you take a bunch of kids that have nothing and they see somebody that has less than them, it is the greatest honor you could ever have. So I took a bunch of kids that nobody believed in that had nothing, and we served 150 families on Thanksgiving, and they gave everything that they had, and that's where you prick their hearts at. And so now they trust you. So for me, it was about going to Shade Tree, the women's shelter. It was about going to cemeteries and seeing young men that had passed away before the age of 21. So what I do is I don't talk about it. I get out there and I go hands-on. I raised my kids in this community. I met my wife on campus 35 years ago. And this community service, man, I work with Elaine Wynn. I went in and put programs in school for less fortunate kids, and she's one of the best philanthropists you will ever meet. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that the young man with this transfer portal and this transfer age, they're not coming to UNLV to get a degree. They come to get another opportunity. I want to make sure that if they're going to stay in this community, that they're equipped for it, and they have class, and they have integrity, they have humility, and they have character, because this is a great community, and I will always give Las Vegas my very best.
This part of the Dan Mullen radio show is brought to you by EOS Fitness. Get off the sidelines and into EOS Fitness, a proud partner of UNLV, featuring premium amenities, including their turf functional training area, Move EOS Simna, open 24/7, and much more. Join now for as low as $9.99 per month. Join EOS.com, EOS Fitness, where there's a will. So Dan Mullen at practice right now as the Rebels get ready for Sam Houston State on the road on Friday. It is a night start Central Time at 8:30, 6:30 our time. And again, Hunkie Cooper is sitting in. Caleb, I know you wanted to ask, Hunkie's job probably changed a little bit from staff to staff.
Yeah, it's probably changed a little bit. The nature of the business has changed. We have talked about the transfer portal almost exclusively throughout the recent years. But how difficult is it for you to make those connections like you have with a Jaden Bradley, a Jet Thomas, when the nature of the business is some guys just aren't going to be around long enough for you to reach them and make that impact? So how does your focus really shift in this new era?
That's crazy that you asked that, because it is difficult. You have to meet people where they are. You know, if you came from LSU, and I have some guys that came from Temple, they already have their master's degree. And so those guys, now I got to meet them academically and socially where they need to be. I have to get them to the next phase of their life. And then I have some young guys that, you know, why did you choose here? You know, if you chose to come here to get a degree first and foremost. So I'm a NLI guy. I'm a national letter of intent, which means my mom and my dad don't have to pay another penny. That NIL is cool. It's good. I want to see kids get it, but I don't like the NIL for football is minor. That's minimal to me. But it's $1 trillion boulevard down there that if you get your name hanging off of that building, now we're talking real NIL. There's a $1 trillion industry in marketing and Twitch, and it's so much more. And your name, your image, and your likeness. And so I want to show them you're not going to see a guy with ripped jeans on the side of somebody's taxi cab company. So I want to create marketability for them, show them how to market and manage themselves, because from the day that they get on campus, I have 1,825 days to develop them for the next 50 years of their life, and I try not to miss a day.
If you had to sum up the best message, your single message that you would want every player that you come in contact with to have when they leave campus, what would you want them to learn? What would you want them to know before you send them on their way?
That to leave here with your degree. Leave it. You know, you could talk about race, you could talk about religion, you could talk about gender. The equalizer is education. Get that education, and because you can run fast and jump high, people are willing to give you a lot of money, and so get your education.
You've had the opportunity to watch some of these guys that have stuck around. Jaden, one comes to mind, Jet Thomas, recruited here, not heavily recruited out of high school, but he's made a commitment to stay. I think every offseason he had an opportunity to leave. Marcel McDuffie, same thing. Both now voted captains, representing their team as leaders. What can you say about their commitment level and what that's meant as leaders in the locker room?
That's what we're looking for to build programs. You got to look for guys. Some guys come here for 6 months. Some guys are going to be here for 60 months. Those are both 60-month guys. Marcel McDuffie's already graduated. He's in the master's program. Jet Thomas, you know, and his dad, KT, rest in heaven, he said, Coop, take care of my son, you know, and he's not transferring. He's yours. You've taken care of him since day one. And that's what I'm going to do. Now, when Jet graduates and gets his degree, his commitment to UNLV is fulfilled. So the portal was designed for that, not to just jump when you feel like there's no discipline, or you're not starting in spring ball, so I'm gonna go here. You still got to go to class anywhere else you go. You still have to be on time and the meetings. You still have to retain and transfer information. So a lot of people jump ship when it get hard. Those guys, the harder it gets, the better they perform. And that's what I love about Jet. They have the great ability to minimize pressure, and pressure is what make them really go. Marcel McDuffie, the same thing as, you know, Cam Friel. You know, you look at a guy that's been through 3, 4 different coaches, Tiger Shanks. All these guys that played here that were really, really UNLV rebels. And those are the guys that don't want to go nowhere else and get their degree, but they want to make sure that arch is in their house and in their heart for the rest of their lives. But, again, with Jet Thomas and Marcel McDuffie, man, these guys are true rebels. Other guys are looking for opportunities. They're looking to graduate and come back and help this community.
Hunkie, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Everyone here, let's give a hand to Hunkie Cooper.
Thank you.
In today for Dan Mullen. We'll come back. We're going to have brief conversations with Marcel McDuffie and Reed Williams. We're coming back to Parkway Tavern, 215 and Flamingo on the Dan Mullen Radio Show on the Learfield UNLV Sports Network.
Get more.
Radio show rolling on here, Parkway Tavern, 215 and Flamingo. We're about 8 minutes away from AD Eric Harper sitting in with us. Wanted to do a couple of player features here. Caleb Herring alongside. Sorry, Caleb, I feel like I haven't introduced you enough during the show. It's Cofield as well. Matt Neverett is covering the Aviators tonight, voice of the Rebels, with the night off. Cofield and Caleb. So Matt had a chance to talk to Reed Williams, the center, and I don't want to build crazy expectations, but I did say in the offseason, kind of just figuring out the roster, watching practice, knowing that he was very decorated at the FCS level. I thought Reed Williams had a chance to be, you know, one of the elite centers, maybe an all-Mountain West Conference type player. He had a great game in the first game. And Matt talked to him just the other day and talked to him about this part of the conversation is about him playing at UTC, but making that change, coming from Chattanooga, where he's from.
Chattanooga's a local college to my hometown, and my mom and my sister both worked there, so it was an easy process going to that school over a few others, but it just felt right and it felt at home, and I was ready to roll and be a Mock.
And how was the first contact made with the UNLV program? Who reached out first, and what were those initial conversations like?
Coach Slinny reached out first. He coached at Austin P, where my brother played offensive line, and that was the first connection there.
And what are those conversations like? Is it, hey, we're interested, we want to bring you out? What's that first contact like with the coach really going for you in the portal?
I mean, as an older guy, it's really like, hey, we want you to be our guy. We like the film you put on tape, and we want you to be a Rebel.
And what's been the biggest change for you as far as when you started as a freshman until now? What's been the biggest change in Reed Williams on the field?
I guess definitely my football knowledge, just being able to see defenses and understand the different techniques defensive line play and really how to use the body, leverage is definitely a big change for me.
The offensive line helped along the way to 300 yards of rushing offense. No snap issues, which is always a big thing in week 0, especially with the new center quarterback exchange, having two different quarterbacks to snap into of very different statures. So he had a lot on his plate, but one of the things I'm noticing about him as a person, as we get to know him a little bit more in his first year as a Rebel, the cerebral nature of his approach to football. He understands that the schematics, the protections, the communication on that front line, talking with Matt Neverett there, he discussed how being on the same page on the offensive line is one of the more important things. You can be big and physical all you want to, but you can't play on an island as an offensive lineman. You saw that a lot, especially with the interior line. A lot of the big runs for Jet came up the middle, and the big boys in between the guards were moving people out of the way and making lanes for Jet. So it's good to hear an offensive lineman understanding that, like his role and what he needs to do. The less you talk about an offensive lineman on the broadcast, the better it is. Most of the time, if you're talking about an offensive lineman, there's a holding call, there's something going wrong. But a good job there by Reed Williams in his first start. And again, the interior offensive line especially was really standout for the Rebels.
And they're going to be strong guard to guard, right? The tackle rotation are kind of figuring it out, making sure that everyone gets healthy. But you knew that in the case of Malik McGowan, he's a guy who could go right in at left guard. Alani Makahele in from UCLA, formerly at UNLV, back with the Rebels. He played left guard. He's made a somewhat seamless transition to right guard, so you knew with those guys they were going to be good. Austin Boyd can back up at guard. Donovan Manson, who's in from Coastal Carolina. So they got bodies there, and they showed it that first game.
Yeah, and the shuffling the deck is always hard. And, injuries, what have you, maybe change things. Just trying to get guys playing out of position is a tough thing to do, but finding the chemistry, finding the right mesh is something that I think Coach Mullen used week 0 to do. And the film is probably going to tell a big story in terms of what they're going to do going forward with the offensive line. But you mentioned it. A lot of capable bodies, a lot of people getting replaced, obviously, from the last couple of years, but a lot of capable bodies on the depth chart for UNLV on the offensive line.
We'll break down the defense in about 15 minutes. We'll have a convo with veteran linebacker Marcel McDuffie. But on the way, the athletic director at UNLV, Eric Harper, right here on the Dan Mullen Radio Show on the Learfield UNLV Sports Network.